There was no Festivus miracle for the Golden State Warriors. But despite that, I was encouraged. Look, the Warriors losing is rough. There's no way to spin that. I'm not going to come here and pretend that moral victories are something that are acceptable for a team that wants to be a championship contender. But tonight was encouraging in a lot of ways, and I'll get into why. Bottom line, the Indiana Pacers remain, this is a wild yet true stat, undefeated at Chase Center. Since Chase Center opened their doors, the Indiana Pacers have never lost there. And in tonight's game, you had an Indiana Pacers team that was coming in red hot. They were a big and long team. And the Golden State Warriors, what it comes down to is when your best players are not performing at an optimal level, you're just not going to win. It's plain and simple. Let's hope it was an off night. I'm going to tell you why I was at least a little encouraged, and let's break it all down. Happy Festivus, everybody. It's the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. It was a pretty crazy night.
Let's go!
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you got
Oh, man. No Festivus miracle. Steph just didn't have his shot. Peter Wiggins. Welcome to the Golden Days. I am your host for the evening, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild. I'm also over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. The program is on most social media platforms at Golden Days Pod. Before we get into the action, let's give some love to our sponsors. First and foremost, Vitamin Energy. One of our, actually not one of, literally the newest sponsor of Golden Days. Go healthy with your energy boosters. Use the promo code Golden Days for 20% off your purchase. And to summarize what Vitamin Energy is, it gives you a boost, yet it's healthy. Kid you not. I made my mom and my sister two of the biggest health nuts on the planet my test subjects, because if they were not willing to consume this product, if they're not willing to put this in their body, I'm not endorsing it. They loved it. And again, it's good for you on top of the energy boost you can get. And maybe the best part, simply use the promo code Golden Days, days spelled like Days of Confused, to get 20% off your order. Go to vitaminenergy.com and again, use the promo code Golden Days at checkout for a 20% off discount on your purchase. Tonight's episode is also brought to you by BetOnline. They continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, and so much more. Head to BetOnline today and don't forget to use the promo code BELIEVE. It's the name of the network we're on. It's spelled BLEAV. Make sure you use that promo code, again, BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. The game did not start for the Warriors pretty much the entire night at Chase Center. Final score, the Golden State Warriors have lost again. Oh boy, 111-105 was the final on a night where the bench kicked some major ass. I believe they put in collectively, if my math is correct here, 53 of the Warriors' 105 points came from the bench. And that was encouraging, especially given the drama that's been going on the last 2 days. Now, Saturday night, Larry Krueger and I hosted a postgame show, and we thought we covered all the bases. And then it turns out that that head coach Steve Kerr makes some comments about how certain players are rushing mid-range shots instead of setting up the offense and waiting for a wide open Stephen Curry, with all implications being that the soundbite was in reference to Jonathan Kuminga. Brandon Pajemski is misled into thinking Kerr's words are about him, and maybe Kerr's words were also about him. I mean, Kerr never specifically named anybody, although most people seem to think that the player in question was Kaminga. And so Pajemski was originally asked about Kerr's comments in a post-game presser, and he gives a fast response that, to summarize, and I'm paraphrasing, please don't quote me, but Pajemski says something to the effect of, I'm not thinking when I'm out there. And I think what he was trying to say is that, he's just reacting, right? Like he's not overthinking things when he's on the court. But Pajemski then goes on Twitter the next day to post this lengthy apology for his answer that was wholeheartedly unnecessary for a myriad of reasons. I mean, his comments were completely innocuous, but nonetheless, you have the two youngest players on the Golden State Warriors, and that's who they are. Kaminga is recently turned 22, less than 2 months ago, or maybe just over 2 months ago, I apologize. And then Brandon Pajemski turns 22 in 2 months. And you have your two youngest players basically just, having all this unnecessary negative attention directed toward him. Jonathan Kuminga is posting content on social media, on Instagram and Threads, with peace signs, with music that has lyrics making references to an individual who is lost, who is directionless. And it's like, what the hell is going on here? So, given all that, tonight had a little intrigue in terms of what the young players were going to do tonight, how Steve Kerr was going to handle them. Literally 24 hours ago, every indication was that Jonathan Kuminga is on his way out. Now, and again, this is why I decided to wait until tonight after the postgame show to discuss that moment. And this is why, because Jonathan Kuminga has one of his best games of the season. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And the Warriors, though, and this is where it's just, it sucks. Just like with life, shit happens. And unfortunately for the Golden State Warriors, their two best players, and when I say that, I'm referring to Stephen Curry and Andrew Wiggins, just did not bring their A games. They didn't even bring their B games. Stephen Curry tonight, he did not have a field goal in the first half. Finished the game shooting just 2 of 13 from the field. Stephen Curry did not make a single 2-point shot tonight. He was missing layups. He was missing easy, like 10-footers. This was not his night. And again, wide open 3-point shots that would have easily won this game for the Warriors. And when those aren't falling from the player you rely on the most, there ain't much you could do. And Stephen Curry on the night finishes with 10 points. He played 35 minutes, 26 seconds. He was a +6 in terms of net rating. So his influence out there was positive. And what that indicates is that for the 12 minutes and change he was not out there, the team was playing some losing basketball. But he can be out there, he's never been a 40-minute plus a night kind of player. And so nonetheless, Stephen Curry, again, 2 of 9 shooting from deep, 2 of 13 overall. Side note, NBA Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever lace him up, Rick Barry, is going to join me tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific time, just to check in to see, to get his perspective on how things are going with the Warriors based on his opinion. Again, the opinion of a Hall of Famer who, when it comes to basketball acumen, you're not going to find anyone better. I mean, you might find equals, but I don't know anyone out there who is going to supersede him in terms of basketball IQ. Anyway, so Rick's going to join me tomorrow at 12. We can talk about Stephen Curry with him. I'd love to get his input on what he thinks about Steph's struggles recently, because it was just 2 games ago where Stephen Curry had the first game of his career where he's played 10 plus minutes in a game and failed to score a field goal. And that's concerning. That's what I'll say about that, and I'll repeat this to the end, because a lot of people out there are the chatter's already growing that Stephen Curry's getting old, that his best days are behind him, that he's peaked. And maybe to a certain extent, that's true. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Stephen Curry today is as good as the Stephen Curry that won 2 straight MVPs close to 10 years ago. But I'm also not going to rush to conclude that Stephen Curry's just, a has-been, or that he's no longer even an all-star. I'm not going to go that far. And a huge reason why I don't want to go that far is because of the fact that he's still getting double teamed almost every time out there. Side note, Traveling Urquidez is asking why Kaminga is not starting. I'll talk about that in a little bit, Urquidez, I promise you that. Alan Day dropping $1.99 in the chat saying this team is giving up the same wide open corner 3. Elaborate on that, please, Alan. You don't have to spend any more money. Follow up on that and give me some examples of when in tonight's game, like you saw that you noticed that, because I'm not disagreeing with you. I love specifics, and I'd love to know if there were specific moments in this game where that stuck out to you. The Miles Turner late 3 certainly sticks out to me in a game where, again, the Warriors, they were leading this game very late, and unfortunately they couldn't hold on to that lead. Part of that is just the Pacers being a very long team, a very big team, a very talented team. I'm honestly shocked that the Pacers are not championship contenders. It's mind-boggling to me that a team constructed the way they are is still struggling, going through losing streaks and stuff like that. Like, if you look at the standings right now, after tonight's game, the Indiana Pacers are 8th in the Eastern Conference. This win just brought them to a 500 record. Whereas the Golden State Warriors dropped to 15-13, 8th in the Western Conference. We'll talk about the standings and so much more in a little bit. But unfortunately, again, Stephen Curry has an off night, and then Andrew Wiggins did not have a good game. And I'm talking about both sides of the ball. He was missing wide open shots. He was clanking mid-range jumpers, the same type of mid-range jumpers that Steve Kerr was criticizing allegedly Jonathan Kuminga about. You then see other players on the roster doing the exact same thing. And those kinds of mixed messages do not help. And that's why Steve Kerr, I thought, stuck his foot in his mouth with those press conference comments, because of the fact that you're now opening yourself up to hypocrisy. You're now opening yourself up to like double standards. It just, I don't think that was a smart move to say that publicly. But regardless, Wiggins just did not have a good game. And again, and your third best player, maybe he's your second best, but your top 3 is Steph, Dre, and Wiggins. I think that's a safe conclusion we could all come to. None of those 3 had a great game tonight. Draymond Green, who's battling this ankle issue, went to the locker room after halftime, or maybe it was like the early third. Forgive me for forgetting what part of the game that happened. He didn't have a great game either. He missed a crucial free throw late in the game. Had just 4 points in this one, only 1 of 5 shooting from deep. But I think the injury issue for him was more crucial. Still made some fantastic defensive plays. But Andrew Wiggins played 34 minutes and 7 seconds, 7 of 16 from the field. But the stat that really sticks out, 1 of 7 from 3. No touch on that shot tonight. When he missed, man, did he miss. Like, those misses are ricocheting off the back of the rim, flying like 25 feet. Open rebound season for Andrew Wiggins' missed field goal attempts. But nonetheless, the 1 of 7 from deep. And Andrew Wiggins is someone you rely on for free throw attempts, and he only had 1. Which indicates that was off a made field goal, so he had a +1, because I don't remember him shooting a free throw off a tech. I don't think he would do that anyways. The Warriors have better free throw shooters than that, although lately, I don't know if that's true. Nonetheless, Wiggins did score 16 points, but he was also a -15 in terms of net rating. Just not a good night for him on both sides of the ball. I thought defensively he could have played better as well. And yeah, so it's when your 3 best players are laying a big fat egg like that, your odds of winning are not going to be great. But that's why I look at the final score. I mean, the Warriors should have won this game. They could have won this game. They lose this game by 6, 111-105, in large part to end-of-game plays by the Pacers, where the Pacers were getting shit done and the Warriors were not. But the bench putting in 53 points. Jonathan Kuminga, who still, for whatever reason, just cannot crack the 30-minute mark playing for Steve Kerr. He plays 29 minutes, 52 seconds tonight. He had a night. He had a fantastic night. Absolute tip of the cap to Kaminga. He was the team's best player tonight. Unfortunately, it was not enough. Kaminga was 9 of 16 from the field, 2 of 3 from deep. The free throw issue is still an issue, although he made 2 late ones that were vitally important and they were clutch. And then he went one of 2 for his final 2 free throw attempts, although the game was pretty much out of hand by then. But Kaminga finishes this game with a team-high 26 points. He was also grabbing boards, 8 rebounds. 4 of those were offensive. So again, bravo to Jonathan Kuminga. Great night. Also added a block in this game. Had 4 assists in this game, but it was not enough. I want to see what's in the chat here in terms of Alan Day. I'm sorry, I already addressed yours. Carson Taylor dropping a $1.99, saying Draymond needs to come off the bench. The problem is we've seen that, right? We've seen Draymond, what happens when he comes off the bench. The Warriors defensively struggle to start games. I don't know if that's the answer. Like what? Look, when I look at this Warriors team, again, I don't know why it is so hard for Steve Kerr to put the 4 best players on this team on the floor together. It rarely happens. And what I mean by that is Wiggins, Draymond, Kaminga, and of course, Stephen Curry. Those are 4 of your 5 best players. And who the 5th player is, you could do that by committee. This is where I think a trade would be huge. Dennis Schroeder could be that guy, although tonight he struggled. We'll talk about him in just a minute. But ideally, like when the tonight's starting lineup, for example, featured Trace Jackson Davis, I don't mind that. And it helps Draymond Green tremendously defensively when he has a natural center out there to reinforce him defensively. As Draymond has said himself, when he has a center out there, a traditional center, helping him defensively, it lets him play like a free safety, bringing out an NFL metaphor where he's calling out defensive schematics to his other players. He's letting them know if his screen's coming. He's much more vocal and he's taken on much more of a leadership role when he has some help out there in terms of a center. So it's cool that Trace Jackson Davis started. Again, Draymond, he's still so damn good defensively that when he's not starting games, this team has a void there. And this is why instead of Schroeder as your starting 2 guard, this is where I'm emphatic in suggesting move Wiggins to the 2 like the team did the first few games of the season. He is a natural shooting guard. To have that much size and length out there altogether, you're going to cause problems for opposing teams on both sides of the ball. And then you move Kaminga to the 3, and bam, now you have your lineup, and then hopefully you can make a trade for, let's say, a Vucevic or some sort of top-tier center, and that's your 5, starting and closing. But nonetheless, you know, it's that's why Carson, why I don't agree with the notion of bringing Draymond off the bench, because this team, you've seen these really deep holes they fall into to start games. And that's almost in every situation. That's when Draymond Green is coming off the bench. Truth telling, dropping a $1.99, saying the elephant in the room, using the elephant emoji, saying that Stephen Curry cannot carry us anymore. And again, what I will say to that, and I'm not saying this with conviction, like I'm not confidently saying this, but what I am seeing out there is Stephen Curry constantly double teamed. And there are so many nights where he has such little help out there offensively that you are starting to see him force things, and you are starting to see him rush 3-point shots, starting to play the very ISO basketball that is the contradiction to the Steve Kerr system. And I don't doubt that Steve Kerr is probably losing his mind at his favorite player of all time, Stephen Curry, when he's doing stuff like that. But I'm not at that point yet, just because, you know, even I know this was not a good look for Stephen Curry, and you could arguably point the finger at him single-handedly being the difference for the Warriors losing. It's not just the fact that offensively it was an off night for him. He also had 3 turnovers in this game. And the turnover number is going to be huge, because when you look at points off turnovers tonight, and the Golden State Warriors in this game total had 11 turnovers, which by their standards is really good. And I think most of those turnovers actually came in the first half. The Warriors turnover-wise, let me look at my box score here. For the first half, the Warriors had 8 of their 11 total turnovers in the first half. So they only had 3 second-half turnovers. But the problem is, in terms of points off turnovers, Indiana had 13. The Warriors had 0. Indiana in this game turned the ball over 12 times. It resulted in 0 points for the Golden State Warriors. So, and a lot of that was Wiggins struggling. A lot of that was Steph struggling. A lot of that was Dennis Schroeder struggling. One player that played like absolute dog shit tonight was Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield, and this is where I think when you talk about coaching, Buddy Hield is someone you have to keep your eye on. If you're Steve Kerr, or if you're assigning that task to someone in your staff, someone has to be a Buddy Hield monitor, because when he's having an off night like this, and it wasn't just on the offensive side of the ball, Buddy Hield offensively was not awful. I mean, he hit 50% of his threes. He was 5 of 11 from the field, at 13 points in this game. But defensively, and it wasn't just the defense. He also had 3 turnovers in this game. He tied Steph for the team lead in turnovers tonight, and those were costly turnovers. He also elicited Dennis Schroeder's ire. I don't know if you folks saw that play where Buddy Hield had a wide open Dennis Schroeder under the rim. All he had to do was pass it to him, and he just somehow missed him and never made the pass. And it resulted in a turnover that the Pacers took advantage of and scored on the very next possession. So that was like a 4-point swing. And there were a lot of little moments like that in this game tonight. And Buddy, again, this is a night where the box score does not tell the true story, the whole story about how Buddy Hield played in this game. It was not a great night for Buddy Hield. You'll see the 3 of 6 shooting from deep, and if you just look at the box score, you'll probably think to yourself, "Hey, he did fine." No, this was a very bad game for Buddy Hield, and regardless, what do you got to do? But my point is, truth teller. Let me get the link so I can get some folks on the show tonight. Look, this is Festivus. So if you come on the show, my one requirement is you have to air your grievances. All right, you got to come on here, and and there's got to be one thing that you got to air that is a grievance of yours, and it could be anything. It could be something to do with the Warriors. It could be something to do with personally. So we're honoring Festivus tonight because I am a Seinfeld junkie, and the fact that show is so ingrained in the cultural fabric of, I think, the world, not just the U.S., to the point where we now have a holiday based off a TV program. I love it. So join the program, air your grievances. Gamer F2P writes, not entirely true. I need to know what about. So follow up on that, please, if you don't mind. But this was, I thought, a great night for the bench players. First and foremost, Jonathan Kuminga, fantastic night for him. The bench collectively scoring 53 points in this game. I thought Kevon Looney only played 9 minutes. I thought those were a solid 9 minutes. He actually led the team he was second on the team in net rating with a +7. The player who led the team in net rating, welcome back, Moses Moody. If you're going to have a coaching critique tonight, I would say that's my one critique. Moses Moody comes back after missing a handful of games because of left knee tendonitis, plays 10 minutes, 11 seconds, but in those 10 minutes, 11 seconds, he posted a +16 net rating. That could be fluky. It could be just he was in there at the right moments in those 10 minutes where the Warriors are going on runs, and so he's going to have this awesome net rating stat. It's why you don't rely solely on that stat to judge a player's performance. Moody hit 1 3-point shot. He had 3 points collectively, but his length, the defense, that was missed. And I do wish Moses Moody had a little more playing time out there, given he played only 10 minutes, whereas Brandon Pajemski, I don't know if 26 minutes, 21 seconds for Brandon Pajemski is justifiable. I mean, look, I'm not as down on this kid as a lot of people are. I think he could still be he could be a reclamation project, and maybe that's not the right verbiage because I don't think he's fallen that far. But but with that said, 26 minutes. Could you have used those minutes and spent them on a better place? Like, could Kyle Anderson have played a little bit instead of DNP? Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Could Lindy Waters have given you like 10 minutes and spaced the floor with his inconsistent 3-point shooting? Yeah. So clearly, like, Kerr he loves the kid. I mean, there's no doubting that. So, I'm already starting to regret saying that I thought the coaching staff did a fantastic job tonight, because I don't know if that was responsible. Damien LaRoche in the show. Oh, by the way, real fast, Brandon Pajemski, in those 26 minutes of play, he was efficient. He shot 50% from the field, 2 of 4. He had 1 3-point attempt, and he made it. This is now, I believe, 9 games where he's shooting over 40%. The last 9 games, more specifically, where he's shooting over 40% from deep. So thank the gods, and more specifically the basketball gods, that Brandon Pajemski's outside shot has been rediscovered. But if you're going to be playing 26 minutes, you got to put up more than 5 points. That was his total, 5 points. He also added 6 rebounds in this game, at 2 assists. He also had 3 steals. What the box score won't show you are a bunch of possessions where players are just blowing by him, exposing the lack of lateral speed. But, if you're going to play a guy that much, he's got to contribute more offensively. 5 points, I just don't know how that's justifiable. And this is where, again, when it comes to Steve Kerr's philosophy, agree to disagree regarding how important having a ball handler / facilitator / whatever you want to label Steve Kerr's obsession with traditional point guard ball handling skills. This is an example where I would say points outweigh the importance of being able to dribble it. But that's just me. Damien LaRoche, again, saying, why isn't Dennis Schroeder taking Pajemski's minutes? Oh, we were just talking about that. Great question. Dennis Schroeder in this game played 30 minutes. Could he have played more? Yes. He averaged 36 for the Brooklyn Nets before he was traded to Golden State. The box score will likely say he played 30 minutes. More specifically, Dennis Schroeder, 29 minutes, 54 seconds in this game. I think he made his first or second 3 of his career as a member of the Golden State Warriors, was 1 of 3 from the field, 3 of 9 total. But when you look at the net rating and what was happening out there when he was playing, in those 30 minutes, more specifically, I apologize, 29 minutes, 54 seconds, a minus 22 on a 9-point night. He also committed 5 fouls, and sometimes a foul is as bad as a turnover if you're giving up free throws in the process. Schroeder thankfully had 0 turnovers, which is a bonus there. But the Warriors, just when it comes to that point guard position, Steph, Dennis Schroeder, Brandon Pajemski, those 3 combined in this game played over 90 minutes. 90 minutes just for those 3. There's 240 total to split up among 5 players. Those 3 got 90 minutes collectively, and those 3 in those 90 minutes poured in a combined 24 points. That's unacceptable. And that's a Steve Kerr thing. That is Steve Kerr just obsessed with point guards, And look, if they're scoring, if they play like Stephen Curry, great, I'm all in. But if they're playing like Brandon Pajemski, you couldn't get better players out there. I don't know, man. I don't know. A lot of people share this sentiment as ACS04. I got a lot of texts tonight because I've now become apparently the representative of the Jonathan Kuminga fan club, even though my entire point has never been that I'm a fan of the kid. My point is treat a lottery pick, a prize lottery pick, the way they're supposed to be treated, which is play them, develop them, so you can get the most value out of them. Look, I do think he could be a fantastic player in this game, but point being, I got a lot of texts and whatnot echoing these sentiments from ACS04, if I got that right, saying that Kaminga showed me enough tonight. For that reason, I don't want him traded. Look, I'll say this about Kaminga in terms of being traded. If the Warriors without Kaminga are not relevant, all right? If the Warriors trade Kaminga for, let's say, a Vucevic, they're cooked. They're done. If you trade Kaminga for, let's say, a Cam Johnson, you're cooked. You're done. You're not only not going to win a championship, you still might miss the playoffs with a roster like that, but you have nothing to look forward to. The future is blank, and the present sucks. So if you're going to trade the kid, it better be for some real talent, is all I'm trying to say. And Cam Johnson, Nikola Vucevic, you can get those dudes for nickels, okay? Like off the ground with tail side up. Give those nickels to those teams and get those guys. Don't give up Jonathan Kuminga, one of your most valuable and important assets. That I do not support. The super chat. Oh, I already addressed that. Sorry, that was from Damien LaRouche. So, in summary, that's what happened tonight. The Golden State Warriors are also continuing to struggle from the free throw line, which is incredibly unfortunate. And again, Rick Barry, I'm going to talk about that with him tomorrow, because why is Rick not in the building? Why is he not coaching the Golden State Warriors in terms of free throws? The Warriors tonight were 15 of 21 in terms of free throw shooting. That's not very good. By their standards lately, you could probably say, well, that's better than what it has been. But when you're making just 71.4% of your free throws, no bueno. And tonight, Draymond Green, 1 of 4. Only 2 players actually missed free throws. It was Draymond, who was 1 of 4, and Jonathan Kuminga, who was 6 of 9. Kuminga, again, that's a part of his game that he's going to have to improve on. I don't know what he can do to improve on that besides just shooting a buttload of free throws during practice. And when I say a buttload, I'm not just talking 100. I'm saying 1,000 a day. You have to. You got to like make that a mission of yours. And then Draymond Green, that just sucks. The one at the end was particularly costly. So John Holmes in the chat again bringing up the fact that Steph and Dre. And again, you're going to hear a lot of this rhetoric, and you might be right. I'm not there yet. So definitely not with Dre, because I do think defensively he is still as elite as they get. Durability is a question mark at the moment. I mean, we saw him go in the locker room. He missed some time tonight because of the ankle injury. Hopefully this is not a lingering thing for him. And then Stephen Curry, again, I mean, there aren't a lot of players in this league who are going to succeed being double-teamed routinely. And he's double-teamed literally every possession. And when I say double team, like if you're paying attention closely, it's not an obvious double team, meaning they're not trapping him. What they're doing though is they're playing. It's not a box and one, but it's a variation of a zone. And I do encourage you to pay attention close to this and watch, because it is fascinating. But this is what defenses are doing. They're playing their man set, meaning they got their one guy that they've assigned to defend Stephen Curry. Then whoever the other Warriors player is that's closest to Steph, that guy who's playing defense. So let's say Steph is bringing the ball up and Pajemski's the closest player to him, but he's on the other side of the court as Stephen Curry crosses the half-court line. When Stephen Curry crosses that half-court line, Pajemski's defender, his eyes are not on Pajemski. His eyes are on Steph. And the moment Steph starts to get the wheels rolling to make a play, and whether that play is the splits, whether that play is just a simple pass and then going through his own motions to get open, which again, we all know the story of him just running people out of a gym. But whatever that scenario is, the moment Steph is starting the process, he's got 2 dudes on him. Okay, one is directly on him and one is floating out there. Okay. And that floater is rotating, right? So if Steph is running all the way around the court, you're not going to see that second guy chase, but whoever the second defender is closest, their eyes are on Steph and not on their own assignment. So we saw one play tonight, for example, where Stephen Curry set up Jonathan Kuminga for a beautiful bucket, where Steph served as a decoy. And maybe that's what they have to start doing on a more regular basis. And that's also why Kaminga has so much value to this team. Because if Stephen Curry is playing the role of decoy, which he has not done much of in his career, given they've really not had to. He's had help most of his life playing for the Warriors, but right now the help is limited. So you need to have actual scorers out there if Steph's going to be a decoy who can finish. And there's only a handful that are consistent at that. Kaminga, Wiggins, I guess maybe Buddy Hield. I mean, and maybe that's part of the issue with this team. And I'm glad Moses Moody was back tonight. Again, he's been sorely missed. I did see a very positive impact from him, especially defensively. Again, his wingspan is 7'2", so when he's playing defense and his arms are actually out playing defense, it causes problems. It closes passing lanes. It impedes vision. It's good to have him back, and I hope his left knee is fully recovered. But if you're not running these decoy sets with Steph, I don't know how you're going to be successful this year, because Stephen Curry is swarmed every play. And again, it's not obvious, but it's happening. on a very consistent basis. Ooh, I almost forgot. So Ryan Leong is going to join us in just a second as well from Chase Center. I totally forgot to email him the link. My bad. I'm doing that right now as I'm hosting a show. So we'll get Ryan Leong coming to us live from Chase Center. It's been a while since we had Ryan on the show of, I believe, NBC Sports Radio. So he'll be joining us in just a second. Hopefully he's got the good setup where he's got Chase Center just behind him. Tim Ford in the chat is asking, how do you like the Dennis, Pajemski, and Curry lineup? I hate it. I think you know that the answer to that rhetorical question, obviously from you. AB in the chat saying Steph is washed. It's over. No, I'm not there yet. I'm sorry. You're barking up the wrong tree for that one, my friend. I'm just not there. Again, if he's not being doubled, and he's still showing this level of mediocrity as a basketball player, yeah, then I might start rolling with you. And if that's the case, then the discussion for the Warriors turns into rebuild. I mean, look, you're keeping Steph, but your aspirations of winning a championship, that's done. I mean, your hopes are entirely based on Stephen Curry being at the peak of his powers. I am not there yet. And Kai17 adamantly saying Vucevic does not win us a title. If Vucevic was on the floor tonight, Kai, the Warriors win this game. If Vucevic is on this team as your starting five, you're going to suddenly see the Warriors get like a 10-game winning streak, and all the misery that Dub Nation has experienced the last 3 weeks to a month is gone. I assure you, I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, that if the Warriors get Vucevic, I understand the negative being his defense. I don't care. The Warriors collectively play team defense, meaning you can hide an individual's deficiencies in a team defense-oriented scheme. I'm telling you. And again, I know my words will not convince you. All we can do is just give my opinion versus yours. I strongly believe Vucevic will be the difference. And do not forget, the cost of getting him is this, okay? Keep this in mind. And Ryan Leong is going to join me right now. I see him waiting in the green room. But just keep this in mind when we talk about players like Vucevic, when we talk about players like Cam Johnson. The demand is non-existent for these guys, okay? Who else in the NBA wants Vucevic right now? Who else in the NBA wants Cam Johnson right now? This is why the market is set up for the Warriors to be aggressive. You don't have to give up a damn thing except future second-round picks, maybe a first, and you're getting a key asset that can help you this year, okay? The Warriors have to take advantage of this, though. I feel like with every day they wait, you're just squandering these opportunities more and more. And Vucevic is that good. He's a former All-Star, man. Like, have some faith in me, please, when I tell you that. Vucevic literally will make a massive difference for this team if they acquire him. Let's get Ryan Leong in here. Is it Ryan, NBC Sports Radio? Is that correct?
Correct.
How are you doing, brother? You got the camera facing the wrong way. That's my only critique, but it's great to see you. And how the hell? There we go, dude.
Hang on. Let's do
there
that.
we
I'll
go.
do it
That's the beauty of Chase Center, an arena that the Indiana Pacers own. What was the experience there tonight, brother? Was it your reaction? And great to see you because it's been a while. And I'll get a banner set up beneath so that people can see your social media handle and all that good stuff. But Ryan, if you can hear me, if you're ready to talk, what was your reaction to tonight's disappointing loss by the Golden State Warriors, a game where the bench delivered, but the tried and true were the ones that failed? How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay, right?
Yeah, sound good, brother.
Yeah, it was, Curry's been playing badly. I mean, he shot like clayitis. He had clayitis tonight, Remember when Clay Thompson was either really...
Did you say clayitis?
Yeah. Clay would have games where he'd go like
even though lately
15.
Clay's been on fire, but yes, continue.
But you remember though when Clay would have some bad games for the Warriors, he'd have 1 of 13, 1 of 14 nights.
Yes.
Curry tonight 2 of 13. Come on, that's very Clay-like.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
2 of 9 from distance. I mean, everything kind of. It's weird though. The Warriors actually didn't play that badly, and if you think about it, I mean, the Pacers were just a little better. They had all 5 of their guys scoring double digits. You add the fact that they had a guy off the bench score double digits too. Kaminga had a good game, but
he did.
Yeah,
he had a great game. I thought.
The Warriors just too many turnovers. Can't get the right rebounds when they need it. Right, couldn't get the right stops. That was my takeaway.
Were you when you were doing your post-game duties, which includes I'm guessing you were in the visitors' locker room tonight, correct?
Correct.
What were the Pacers saying? What was their reaction? Like, I'm always curious, like, what opposing players and coaches are saying about the Warriors in terms of like what led to them beating the Warriors. What were the Pacers saying tonight?
Well, yeah, I mean, I tried to ask Andrew Nebhard if they were able to kind of lock down on Steph, and he said he wouldn't go there. And he says Steph is still the kind of guy that can make shots. He's being nice. But I really thought Steph struggled. I mean, of course, Steph runs all over the court like he always does, but he jacked up some really bad shots. I mean, there were a couple of shot attempts that went up that you just knew weren't going to make it from the moment it left his hand.
100% agreed. He was forcing a lot tonight.
A lot of shots.
Ryan, you know, and that's going to be what a lot of people are saying. Hell, they're saying it now. I mean, the chat's already full with a lot of people, and I'm not criticizing anybody for saying this because he's not looking good. But what I also keep seeing is a Stephen Curry who does not have a lot of help around him offensively. He doesn't have a lot of scoring around him particularly. Like, I mean, you can make the argument Kaminga is the second best offensive player in this team right now. I don't. If you tell me Wiggins, that's a safe answer. But the point is, the fact that those two are probably one of your correct answers, that's not a good sign for this Warriors team. I see Steph getting doubled routinely. What are you seeing, man? Like, do you think he's faltering? Like, do you see an aging player, or do you see a guy who's frustrated and is trying to make things happen because he doesn't have a lot of help?
I think it's all of the above, really. I mean, that's why they went out and got Dennis Schroeder. And then Schroeder, of course, you know, he's having his struggles too, although what did he do tonight? Yeah, another not so good game. 3 of 9 shooting. 1 of 3 from distance.
Yeah.
You know?
Look at his net rating, dude. Look at Schroeder's net rating in your box score. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, the minus 22?
Minus 22, bro. And when you play 30 minutes and it's a minus 22 in a game where you lose by 6, that's not a good look.
Well, yeah, you know what? Now you mentioned it. Let's go over the other minuses, right? So you got minus 15 for Wiggins. You got minus 17 for TJD. Yeah. And then Schroeder. So pretty bad.
Ryan, what has been your reaction? It's only been, 3 games since the team...
Sorry, knocked my headphones out.
No, you're all good, man. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but
no,
it's been now, 3 games since the Warriors...
Sorry, repeat your question again?
Well, I didn't even ask you. You're good. So it's been, I believe, 3 games since the Warriors traded for Dennis Schroeder. He's played 3 games for the Warriors. None of them have been... none of these games have blown people away. You could make the argument they've been underwhelming. What has been your reaction to Dennis Schroeder on the Warriors through 3 games?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good way of putting it. I mean, I'll give you a baseball example. This is probably from a few years back. There used to be a pitcher that the Giants used to face named Mark Portugal. You remember him?
Yeah, of course.
He kicked ass for the Astros. The Giants.
He was a durable pitcher, correct? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, but when he played for the Giants, he sucked. The Giants picked him up for 1 year, and he couldn't pitch. So he was always the guy who could beat the Giants, but he could never play with the Giants. Dennis Schroeder's the same thing, right? Dennis Schroeder has beaten the Warriors on numerous occasions, but he wears a Warriors uniform so far, and he's been ineffective.
And again, it's only been 3 games, but so far not good. And if AB in the chat is correct, that's a glaring stat, dude. That Dennis Schroeder, since he's come to the Warriors, has a minus 75 in net rating. That's the number. That's like what Klay Thompson had pretty much the whole last year. Him and Wiggins were like having these atrocious negative numbers in net rating. But for 3 games, that's not a good start, man. You know, one player, Ryan, I'm so glad you joined me, dude. It's been a long time. I've been thinking about you. I'm glad you showed up tonight. And I'll get your graphic up in just a second, I promise. People can follow Ryan Leong, by the way, on Twitter. I don't have it memorized, Ryan. How can they follow you?
My name.
Oh, there you go. Okay, add Ryan Leong. Perfect. One player tonight in the box score that looked good, but in terms of eye test, I thought failed. I was not impressed at all, is the guy you just mentioned, Buddy Hield. The box score will show the 13 points, 3 of 6 from deep, 5 of 11 overall from the field, even grabbed 4 rebounds in this game. But he had 3 turnovers. Those were costly turnovers. He also made some plays. Like, there was one play, I don't know if you saw this, Ryan, where Dennis Schroeder was wide open under the basket, and Buddy just missed him. For whatever reason, just didn't see him. And I think he forced a shot, and then the Pacers took it all the way down the court after the miss, and the scored. It was like a 4-point swing. What was your reaction to Buddy Hield tonight? Was he not as bad as I thought he was, despite the numbers? Your reaction?
I think he was just okay. I think he was probably nervous because he is facing his former team. And there was a lot of talk about how the one main beat writer for the Pacers, you know, Indiana's a smaller market, so they only have one main beat writer. His name's Dustin, I believe. So he went over to talk to Hield in pregame.
Okay.
So that was a lot of focus. And a lot of the Pacer players talked about playing against Buddy again. So I think that had a lot to do with Buddy not playing up to his capability.
Well, and again, when you look at how the Warriors were playing at the start of the season when they got off to the 12-3 start, Buddy Hield early in the year was the team's leading scorer. He was on fire, man, and we've never seen that version of him since. I don't know if other teams have like just woken up. I don't know if Buddy he has come back to earth. What are your thoughts on Buddy, man? Like now that we've had like a good 2 months of him wearing a Warriors jersey, like what are your thoughts on Buddy Hield as a member of the Golden State Warriors?
Well, they're trying to get a Klay Thompson-like player, but he's just not producing like Klay Thompson, or maybe he's producing like the way Klay Thompson was producing, which is not good. Right? You're trying to get a pre-COVID Klay Thompson, and the Warriors aren't getting that with Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield, like somebody just left out the comments, his inconsistencies are frustrating. I would agree with that. Incredibly. And that's why, like, I do feel like the team needs to keep a close watch on him. So when he has a game like this, just yank his ass really fast. Yeah.
Because he does more harm than good when you leave him out there and he's being inconsistent like this. Anonymous in the chat brings up a great question because, and I brought this up earlier as well, you were at the game, so maybe you have a better answer than I do. Kyle Anderson, to me, is being sorely misused. We saw him start the last game, and big surprise, they win. Did that happen? I think it did. Anyway, but regardless, maybe that was 2 games ago and they got their ass kicked. I don't know. Whatever. I still believe that Kyle Anderson should be playing more. He got a DNP tonight. Why is that in your opinion? And just your thoughts on Kyle Anderson on this team so far? Because this isn't the first time we've seen a DNP for Kyle Anderson.
Well, I'll say this much. I mean, it was more to do with like when pregame today, there was so much talk of Kerr being asked about Jonathan Kuminga and his role, which is still kind of a question mark with the team. And the entire pregame centered around that. And I could see Kerr getting somewhat irritated by the questioning. But it's a valid point. And so they just keep getting asked over and over again, what are you doing with Jonathan Kuminga? How is he, what's his role with this team? And the only thing Kerr kind of admitted to is he said that Kaminga in the last couple of games had really poor shot selection. So, and he says he's going to try to coach whatever way he can to help the team win. Of course, any coach is going to say that. But I'm just noticing that I'm seeing more pre-games now where Kerr is being openly questioned more for his tactics and his managing of how he's trying to tweak this roster.
2 years too late, but I guess better late than never. So,
well, but I'll say this: maybe it has something to do with who's on the beat writing corps. Danny Emmerman is one of the beat writers now, and he's known for asking a little bit more pointed questions than other people.
Good.
So I don't want to do it just because I'm not a beat writer per se. So I kind of feel that beat writers have a certain level, the level of they're higher level than I am. So I'll ask questions when I think I need to ask questions, but a lot of times those guys are usually asking what needs to be asked, and I'm just kind of sit there to observe it.
I got to get Danny on the show, man. So you're saying Danny Emmerman is the one that is asking the hardest questions and not. I usually attribute Anthony Slater with being the individual.
Slater is too, but I've been noticing like if you get a chance later, now you can check the Warriors SoundCloud, go back and listen to Kerr's pregame.
All right. Okay? We'll summarize that. I did see one. See one clip, and I tried to find it. I was going to play it on the show, but I couldn't find it online. I apologize, but I did see one clip where just to kind of follow up what you said, where Kerr was answering a question about Kaminga, and I imagine these questions partly are because of what he said in postgame in Minnesota, right? Where he talked about, he didn't name the player, but he said some young players need to improve their shot selection and not take these.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And that's why it would be good to go back and listen to that pregame on the SoundCloud.
I will. And Rick Barry's coming on tomorrow, and I'll have a lot of sound for that show. But in the pregame today, and again, head coaches, they every game they have a pregame press conference. Usually they're just telling the pool who's injured. It's all the basics, right? But you're saying like
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I go a little further than that. They don't just talk about injuries. I mean, come on, they actually talk about it. Depends on whatever they're getting asked. I mean, and it depends on the coach. Like for instance, there was no Pacers pregame with Rick Carlisle because he took one of the buses that was late. He didn't get to the arena until almost 6:00, and he just did a pregame with their TV sideline reporter. So I was able to get that just because they help out the SoundCloud.
That's interesting, bro. Yeah. He was late. Like, was there anything?
Traffic. Traffic, man. Traffic's bad trying to get here. It sucks trying to get to Gate Center.
This has nothing to do with the Warriors. Just a real quick gripe. And Ryan, it is Festivus, so this will be a grievance that I'm going to air right now.
Right.
And happy Festivus to everyone. A grievance I have is the Bay Area is so much more crowded than it was just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Way more crowded than it was 5 years ago. It just keeps getting worse and worse. I've never seen traffic this bad in my life, is my point. So I'm airing my grievance toward every Bay Area driver out there. Just chill at home every once in a while. Why do you always have to be out driving? Traffic's absurd. And you're sitting here saying that Bay Area traffic caused Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, to be late to tonight's game. That's insane,
Well, he
dude.
made it time, but he was late for his pregame. Yes.
Wow. So describe. I know you talked about it, but I'd love to follow up real fast if you don't mind. The Kerr presser tonight, and you're absolutely right. I did oversimplify those pregame pressers. There is some detail that goes there. I gave way too general of a summary. I apologize for that. But you usually are not getting like great sound bites from these things, though. You're not getting like huge insights that you can run with and write a whole story.
Generally speaking, you're not. But when you're a team that's lost 8 of 10 games, you start getting you're going to start getting some pressure on you.
Right, and which is why I want to talk about this. How did how many do you remember how many questions were asked about Kaminga? Like what were the questions like?
Pretty much every question.
And what was Kerr's answers? Like what's he saying?
Like I said, he kept talking about how he's going to coach, how everything's he's going to help the team win.
Are there any questions about playing time and roles and stuff like that?
Yes, all of it. That's what I'm saying. Go back and listen to it.
I will. Oh my God. Okay, tomorrow we'll play these.
Like I said, I even made a point because I usually don't talk a lot to the other writers. I do it occasionally, but I even said that Anthony Slater's were getting food in the media room. I said that was not your usual pregame presser, and he said, "Yeah, that was pretty. It's pretty insightful." So yeah,
and
a lot of Kerr's pregame pressers are usually kind of like, they're sort of like you said. I mean, more than injuries, but it's usually just more like it's almost like coffee talk or something. You know what I mean? It's something.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. They're very casual. They're not
casual.
serious.
This is a little more serious. The only joking thing that was asked about was at the end, somebody asked him about his beard and why he's growing the beard, and he said initially it's because, and you have a dog, he tried to pet his dog, and his dog apparently scratched him on the face, leaving a little bit of a gash, and so because of that, he couldn't shave. Then the Warriors go and they win a game, and then he thinks, oh, maybe I should keep the beard because we won a game.
And now it's gone.
I don't know, maybe it's gone, I don't know, yeah, so. I like
little
hard-hitting analysis here, don't I?
I like little things like that, dude.
Yeah.
Like so Kerr's beard was not intentional, and then he added some superstition to it,
right.
And here we are.
Yeah,
that's fascinating, man.
Yeah.
What in your opinion, Ryan? And you and I go way back, dude. You go even further. I think you started a couple years before me. You started covering the Bay Area media in the '90s, correct?
Yeah, I started covering the Warriors in the 1998-99 season.
Yeah, and that was 2000. So dude, we've been doing this for years.
Okay.
And you're still always at the scene. You're either at Warriors games, baseball games, Niners games. So dude, you see a lot.
Yeah.
In your opinion, man, like what are the Warriors going to do with this Kaminga situation, dude? Because a game like tonight makes it really damn hard to even fathom trading him. But
right.
Clearly the relationship with him and Kerr is not healthy. If it was, we wouldn't have this endless discussion and all these questions. So what in your mind, what's going to happen here, dude? Is Kaminga a long-term Warrior? Are they going to trade him? What do you think is going to happen? How's this going to play out?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of a 50-50 proposition. Excuse me. But like you said, though, the relationship, I would say, is fractured, is the way I describe it.
Agreed.
There's not a lot of trust there, and I don't know what Kerr's end game is. And the thing that's weird is, Kerr didn't play that long ago. It's not like he's like Don Nelson, okay? He's a guy that's fairly young. He played with Michael Jordan. So he knows what it's like to play with arguably the greatest player ever. And so now he's in a role where he's Phil Jackson, right? Or he's in the role of Phil Jackson. And he's got this player he's got a bipolar relationship with. And I thought today was the first time I really noticed where I'm like, wow, this is kind of contentious, this pregame session that Kerr's having with the writers. So I don't know where it's going to lead Kaminga. But I do know this. Apparently, he was also asked, Kerr, from both Emmerman and Slater, that JK's camp is not happy with what's going on. They've made that clear. So, I don't know.
Wait. They brought that up with Kerr? Like, who brought that up?
I think Emmerman did.
He actually, in a question, I can't wait to play these tomorrow, these sound bites. You're saying Danny Everman literally brought up to Steve Kerr in a press conference that Kaminga's representatives were not happy with his usage, basically?
Yes.
That's phenomenal. And Kerr could not be happy about any of this because
that's what I'm saying, right?
This is no. I'm sorry for repeating a lot of what you're saying. I'm just trying to get a clear understanding here. This is fascinating stuff. And this
that's why you go to pregame, because like even today, I just got there right as he started, and right off the gate it was like, oh man, he's getting some tough questions.
He never gets tough questions, dude.
Not usually, but he is now. Like I said, I'll give Danny credit. He doesn't ask just like softball stuff, you know.
Wow. Yeah. Props to Danny. I think a former KNBR guy, right? Before he went to the Merc.
Yep.
I think I don't know his background that well, but that's good for him. Good for Anthony Slater. I always give him credit for the work he does. Yep. Were you asking questions, or I know you said this earlier, but just
not today. I was just observing. I was shooting a Instagram live of the presser.
That's incredible, dude. Oh my god. Okay, so again for the audience, tomorrow Rick Barry's going to join the show. We'll play a lot of that sound. Have you heard anything from postgame tonight? Like I doubt it would come up because I
came straight from the Pacers right up to you.
All right. Well, here's one soundbite. This is courtesy of 95.7 The Game, where Steve Kerr does talk about Kaminga some more. Dude, I love this. Oh my god, this is music to my ears because that's been one of my biggest gripes about the whole paradigm of the media covering Kerr is he just gets lobbed softballs, man. You rarely have people actually grilling him, man. So this is good news. Okay, so let's hear from Steve Kerr. This was after the game, a game that the Warriors lost by 6. Fascinating to me that the Pacers remain undefeated at Chase Center. The Warriors just can't beat them at home. And here's Steve Kerr talking about his young, potentially prized asset, Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, this is the JK we want. Spent a lot of time in the paint. Took care of the ball. He had a couple of really nice passes. Found Buddy early in the game for a 3 on a beautiful play, and really attacked. So this is a great example of how JK needs to play. I'm really proud of him for coming out and playing that way. And he's getting better, and it's fun to watch his development.
All right, that was Steve Kerr with some praise, some effusive praise. We don't hear that often. It's a nice change of pace there, Ryan. What was your reaction to Kerr's comments there?
No, it's good. I mean, like I said, I think it stems from this contentious pregame, or not contentious, but a little more just thought provoking. And I think after a game like tonight, when he scores 26 points off the bench, and even though he's a -2, at least his net rating was better than a lot of other people's.
This is fantastic. Ryan, I'm so glad you came on, dude. I've been thinking about you. I tried to message you a couple weeks ago. I'm really glad you got back to me, man. I'm glad you're on the show right now. You're dude. This is phenomenal content. Thank you so much, Ryan. What is your personal opinion on Kaminga, man? Like you watch him consistently. You're actually in the building. You're around him. What are your thoughts on this kid, man? It's year 4. He recently turned 22 years old. It's this offseason is going to be the biggest of his life because he's either going to get a big deal from someone else or he's going to get a big deal from the Warriors. And we don't know what that big deal is in terms of monetary value, but it's going to be something pretty large. How is he doing in your eyes, brother?
He's doing all right. I mean, he's got games that he's inconsistent, unfortunately. But again, how much of that is based on the fact of how much playing time he gets? I mean, when the coach is going to give you minutes or he's not going to give you minutes, how are you going to produce? It makes it tough. You taled about this a lot last year with Moses Moody. I mean, Moses Moody was a productive player, but he never got any playing time, right?
Oh, my God.
Even tonight, he got a lot of playing time. He got 10 minutes. So, I mean, a lot of it does come down to your coach. I mean, your coach is going to let you in the game or not, at least in the NBA. That's really critical, how that's going to affect your performance. And then it affects your confidence. If you're starting, you're coming off the bench, and he's a young guy. So, yeah, I think personally, if the Warriors continue to lose, he should be starting more games.
Damian LaRouche in the chat, Golden Dazer, longtime fan, love you, brother, saying, sounded like reluctant praise. I'm not going to read that far into it, but I'll read your comment.
Well, praise. I mean, no, but again, if a guy's not getting a lot of playing time, what am I supposed to say?
I know, exactly.
I mean, I go back to that guy's comment. Seriously, what does he know about basketball? Have you played a lot of basketball, dude?
Wait, which guy? The one I just highlighted?
Reluctant praise, yeah.
But he wasn't criticizing you. I think he was criticizing Kerr. Hold on, I'm trying to find that comment again. He was. I don't think. Oh, this one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think he was referring to Kerr, not you.
I don't know. You know what? Again, I think Kerr is just finding himself in a place where he's just not comfortable with Kaminga. I don't think he's comfortable with him at all. I mean, I don't know. I feel like he knows he has to play him, but to what extent does he want to play him? And he keeps doing a juggling act as to how much he wants to use him. And I think it's got, like I said, if the Warriors continue to lose more games, he needs to start him more and let him play more minutes.
And, well, in your opinion, Ryan, I keep advocating for Wiggins to play at the 2. Like, my ideal starting lineup is Steph, Wiggins, Kaminga, Dre, Trace Jackson Davis. And if Looney's in that center,
you want to play Wiggins as a guard?
Well, he did start there for the first 3 games of the season. I mean, it's and that's where he played in Minnesota. It's not a wild idea necessarily, unless you're Steve Kerr and you like these Hobbit lineups. But is there any chance of seeing that again, or is Dennis Schroeder embedded in the starting lineup? In your opinion,
he can come off the bench, but I don't see Wiggins coming in as anything other than a small forward.
That's a shame. That's a shame.
That's how I see it. I don't see him. When you mentioned guard, I'm like, really? So,
yeah, I mean, he was a 2 in college playing in Kansas. He was a 2 at Minnesota, averaging over 20 points a game every year he played there, at least almost every year. Maybe there was 1 year where he didn't. And he comes to the Warriors. He's a 3, and he had an All-Star year, but his scoring's down. And I mean, think about Wiggins, how much easier scoring is for him if he now has smaller people guarding him instead of constantly having to manhandle bigger dudes.
You make a good point. I mean, I guess for me, I'm only looking at his time since he's been with the Warriors because I didn't really pay attention to what he did in Minnesota. But you bring up a good point. So it's just a matter of maybe I'm around Steve Kerr too much because I'm almost like getting like you sort of get he seems to pigeonhole certain things, right? So.
I mean, look, Ryan, we were around Don Nelson as well, and and I started buying into his stuff too. So I get it.
Yeah, right.
And honestly, Ryan, you bring up a good point. Well, or at least the topic you bring up leads to a point I think that's worthy of discussion, which is Steve Kerr's likability. And I think this is a problem with the media game, is he's a very likable dude. He's a very personable dude. Yes, the background is phenomenal, Ryan. Thank you again for doing that. Beautiful. Chase Center, one of the finest buildings in our country. What do you see about that, man? Like, is it hard for you, for example, or do you see it being more difficult than maybe it should be for media professionals to actually grill Kerr and ask him the questions that should be asked, or no? What are your thoughts on that?
I'd say somewhere in the middle. Like I said, usually the kinds of questions that he gets asked, I'm going to leave it up to the beat writers first. Occasionally I'll ask him a question, but the reason also for that too is, remember, the beat writers are around him every single day, at home, at practice, on the road.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have a chance to go to practice on an occasional basis, but I have a day job, so I can't always do that. I obviously don't go on the road. So just by that alone, those guys earn the credibility to ask questions just because they're around him all the time.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm noticing definitely more pointed questions toward him. Like today, seriously, today is the first time I'd ever really noticed that he had a more challenging pregame. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait to check that sound out. And again, for the audience, tomorrow, 12 p.m. Pacific time, Hall of Famer Rick Barry is going to join us, and I will be playing some sound from that press conference. I'd love to get Rick's reaction to that as well. That's great stuff. Ryan, another player that's been very polarizing, besides Jonathan Kuminga, has been Brandon Pajemski, and he was catching some strays in all that drama Saturday night, where Steve Kerr basically, publicly calls out either Kaminga and or Pods, or maybe it was just Kaminga, but he calls at least one of his young players out for taking shots early in the shot clock, mid-range jumpers that he doesn't like seeing, even though I saw Wiggins tonight do the exact same thing. The exact same thing that Kerr was criticizing. Wiggins did it, and I posted that on my Threads account and Twitter if you want to go see that. But regardless, Brandon Pajemski, again, he caught strays because after Kerr leaves the podium, Pajemski's up there, and somebody asks him immediately about Kerr's comments, and he's thinking that those comments were directed at him, so he gets in his head, and he gives an answer that's innocuous, but then he feels the need to defend himself on Twitter the next day with a long statement saying that, he doesn't think out there, which, again, I think he was trying to say he's not overthinking. I think that's what he was trying to convey in terms of the message, and nonetheless, he felt the need to follow that up the next day, and with this statement on Twitter, which is absurd, man. Again, if you're an athlete and you're not using social media strictly for fuel to motivate yourself, delete those apps, man. Like, do not fall into the Kevin Durant trap of being obsessed with other people's thoughts. It's completely counterintuitive. I really wish he would stay away from social media, but nonetheless, your thoughts, dude, because Brandon Podziemski is polarizing. A lot of people don't understand why he gets the minutes he does. I thought tonight was an efficient night for him, but then again, he plays 26 minutes and only gets 5 points. So for a team that's struggling offensively, he's not really helping that much in that category. What are your thoughts on Podziemski, man? Both opinion-wise and from what you're seeing.
I see he's having a sophomore slump. He's just not very good this year. He's had a lot of bad play, and he has gotten more minutes than he probably should get. But again, what did I say earlier? How many your minutes are always determined by the coach. So
you're absolutely right.
I mean, that's all I can say about it. I mean, but he's not impressed me. I mean, I tell you who the Warriors missed, the guy named Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah, this year they do. Absolutely. No doubt.
I mean, but DiVincenzo had the kind of playing style that Podziemski tried to follow up with, right? But it's not happening.
For Podziemski's sake, if the 3-point struggles he had to start the season are behind him, and Bob Fitzgerald keeps bringing up this stat on the broadcast, which is a great stat, that it's now been 9 games and counting that Podziemski's 3-point percentage has been over 40%. Thank goodness, because I think he was like below 20% for the good portion to start the year. Podziemski on the season now, his 3-point percentage, I'm looking this up real fast to see where he is now 27.1%. That's still a bad number, but it's a lot better than it was. What do you think about, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the idea that maybe Podziemski should start shooting more threes? Because he had just 1 3-point attempt tonight. He made it, but again, just 5 points. I mean, is he a high-volume shooter to you? Is that a bad idea? What do you think?
Fine, but again, he only shot the ball 4 times. So, I mean, either way, he only took 4 shots total.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll tell you this much. He needs to get his confidence back. He doesn't really have it. But he did get a lot of minutes. It was 26 minutes off the bench. So he got some playing time, but, he's not showing any consistency out there with a shot.
Ryan, people can follow you on Twitter at Ryan Leong. They can follow you on Threads at Sports Cyclopedia. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't really use it, but I'm on there. Yeah, that's
okay.
Fine. Yeah, I'm on Threads.
And in addition to working for NBC Sports Radio, you also have a program. You write for a website, and there's a podcast correlated to that called Bay Area Sports Rap.
Yeah.
Promote away. What's that about, and how can people find it?
Yeah, well, me and my colleague Marco Kolovich and Lowell Tuckerman, we basically cover the Bay Area sports teams. More so me with Marco, and we have a YouTube channel. It's Bay Area Sports Rap, and rap spelled WRAP, not a rap song. And yeah, we do a weekly podcast. We mostly focus on the Niners right now, since people seem to follow football. They just go nuts over football. You know that. NFL is king.
Big time, dude.
Give me an example,
I do a weekly hit, Ryan, with Larry Krueger, and then another one with Damon Bruce. And both of them, their primary focus is the Niners, just because that's what gets them the clicks. I'm just lucky to be in this lane, dude. Like the Warriors are my thing, and that's what I roll with. But you're right, dude. Football is. So you're saying on various sports rap spelled with the W. You're primarily talking football, but you also got some hoops in there. What else is on there?
Yeah, we'll talk about anything. I mean, I haven't done a podcast with Marco just yet because he's up in visiting his family up north near Sacramento. So when he gets back, we'll go over talking about Ricky Henderson and his sudden untimely passing. And I had a chance to cover Ricky in his last year with the A's. He came back in 1998. That was my first year I started covering sports.
I remember that. Yeah. You
know what he is, honestly? Ricky Henderson was the modern day Yogi Berra.
Dude, I'm so glad. I was literally going to ask you about that because Paulie Mack, another former radio colleague of ours, and he's going to be launching his show soon. I'm going to be doing a weekly hit with him soon as well. One of my closest friends, love him dearly. He was at the Warriors game tonight, and he told me that when they had a moment of silence or some sort of tribute for Ricky Henderson, describe how that went.
Yeah, they just did right before the anthem. They put up a photo of Ricky being at a Warriors game, probably sitting courtside. The great smile that Ricky always flashed. And the PA announcer just made a mention of how, untimely passing and the greatest baseball player. And then, they had a moment of silence for him. And then after they brought the lights back up, there's a huge cheer for Ricky. I mean, Ricky's a beloved Bay Area presence. I mean, he's arguably – I know Willie Mays is number one for a lot of people in baseball, but if you look at the records that Ricky Henderson set, not only, of course, all-time stolen bases with 1,406, he's got the all-time runs scored record of 2,295. He had the all-time walks until Barry Bonds passed him. And remember, I think Ricky's is way more impressive because a lot of his walks were unintentional walks. And he's got, of course, the leadoff for home runs. He hit 81 leadoff home runs.
He was incredible.
Here's what's great. I went to a game when I was 19 years old against the Cleveland Indians, and they were the Indians back then. And he led off both games with a doubleheader with a home run. I don't think anybody's done that since.
He was one of a kind. He was one of the most entertaining baseball players to watch.
Yeah.
He made baseball fun. I think his last year playing baseball was for a minor league team or something. It was some team like. Say again.
The Newark Bears.
Well, wasn't there like a San Diego team too? Was that before Newark?
Might have been. I don't know. I just know there's a great Sports Illustrated article written by Tom Verducci talking about his time with Newark, and all of these great Ricky anecdotes are in there. You can look it up. Look up Ricky Henderson, Tom Verducci on a Google search, and you'll find that article.
And but going back to the Warriors game, like what Paulie told me is that he said he's never experienced Chase Center more quiet than when the Ricky Henderson tribute came up. Like he said, the entire arena just was collectively just frozen because of that's how big of an impact he had on the Bay Area.
Yeah. It was very respectful. Sure. I mean, everybody knew that he passed away, but yeah, of course, it was an extremely respectful moment. That's why, like I said, as soon as it was over and they brought the lights back up, a huge cheer.
Incredible, man, and I'm glad the Chase Center crowd, gave him the honor that he deserves. Ricky was one of a kind, man, and he was such a fun athlete to watch in general.
Real quick, Steph Curry actually kind of like, do you see the Warriors tweet that they put out a couple days ago?
Yes.
Where he kind of imitated Ricky. Instead of putting a base over his head, he put a basketball. But, Curry being the showman that he is, borrows a lot from Ricky. And a lot of stuff that Curry does, Ricky was doing first. I think one of the funniest things Ricky would do is he hit a home run and he started doing the whole jersey pinching his jersey.
Yeah.
Running around the bases and doing that really slow, wide trot around first base. The snatch catch, remember that? He'd do a snatch catch.
I remember all of it, dude. No, Ricky was incredible. Let's go back to Chase Center, not where you are. We're gonna go downstairs about 50 feet or so, and Stephen Curry spoke to the media, and I'm curious to hear from Steph because he's talking about his own play. Before we hear this soundbite, Ryan, there's a lot of people, and I'm almost a little disturbed at how large the number is because it's Stephen Curry. It's shocking how many people are already writing him off and jumping to the conclusion that he's aging, that his best days are behind him. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but if he's on the decline, I'm not at a point yet where I can say he's dropping. Like he might be, still at the peak, but just, maybe a little bit on the downslope. Well, from your perspective, like where is Steph, man? I see double teams. I see him being the sole focus of the offense, and as a result, getting all the attention defensively, and that's going to make life hard for you. Is he aging? Is it the lack of help? Is it all the above? I think I asked you this earlier, but one more time, please. What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's all the above. I mean, he's not getting any younger. He's going to be 37 years of age, March 14th of 2025. He's getting double teamed a lot, and even though he could run all around the court, again, Jordan, by the time he was that age, he wasn't that productive anymore either.
Jordan won his sixth title.
Real quick, before you play this, one thing I'm noticing, this is very interesting. Usually Curry comes out really late in postgame. You notice he's in uniform here. I've not seen that from him all year.
That is interesting. What are you inferring? Like, what do you think?
I don't know, but
means?
Usually I'm surprised he told me he already spoke to the media because usually at this time he hasn't talked to the press yet. Normally he doesn't walk into the interview room until about 11 o'clock at night.
And when Stephen Curry is doing something abnormal like that, usually that means he's pissed.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm gonna say this right now, seriously. He never speaks to the media in uniform.
That's fascinating. And that's one of the many insights you're bringing to the table tonight, Ryan. I can't thank you enough. Here's Stephen Curry. Let's hear what he has to say, talking about his own performance in a game where he scored just 10 points, was just 2 of 9 shooting. Right? Is it 2 of 9 or 2 of 9 shooting
from three.
Shooting from 3,
2 of 13 overall.
Yeah, no 2-point shots. He was missing layups. It was not a good night.
Shots. Correct.
It was not a good night. And here's Stephen Curry talking about his performance. And as Ryan Leong just said, in uniform, which he never does. Never. So, Steph, for the folks listening on the podcast, Stephen Curry is at the podium wearing his uniform. And here's Steph.
I think that last stretch of the second quarter was kind of rough. We lost a little bit of momentum, gave them life. possession game, or we had a lead actually, went down 8, and then fought back. Second half, played with a lot of energy. I think down the stretch, that's obviously make or miss league. I missed 2 big shots, one to tie, one to try to take the lead. Shots that, pride myself on, got to make those. They are very athletic and try to play, physical. And we had spurts where we could match that, but we got to be able to put it together 48 minutes where you sustain that level of intensity and IQ and execution. And against a team that has that many offensive threats, if you give them life, it's going to be tough. So I got to play better, and I will. But I think as a whole, we just got to maintain our confidence in what we're doing, and not have those little spurts where we give the team life.
And there's one more clip. Before I play that, Ryan, your reaction to Steph's comments. Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm not surprised. I will say this, and you notice you watch that clip, he's kind of looking down the whole time. Usually he gives people better eye contact than that.
He's great at that, actually. Yeah,
he is. So I could tell you, from all I can glean from that is that he's obviously frustrated. I would be too. He had that really bad game in Memphis, right, where he was like, of what, he didn't make a shot that night.
Well, it was arguably his worst game ever. He did not, like you said, first time in his career playing 10+ minutes, he did not score a field goal. That is so for the folks who think he's on the decline, that's evidence that supports your argument. But sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Well, yeah, like the commenter man here, Eddie 757, naturally on the decline 36, and years accumulate doesn't mean he's cooked. He just can't carry the team every night. No, that's exactly right. Eddie, very good point. I couldn't agree more. And that's why they got Dennis Schroeder. But like we said, Dennis Schroeder's a -75 since he's been here. But somebody else has got to pick up the load. Like Curry right now needs that Scottie Pippen. He had that Scottie Pippen and Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson was no longer Klay Thompson, and he's no longer here.
Good point.
So, but yeah, he can't carry the team by himself, and he does need more help, and he needs other guys to step up. I think the guy to step up is going to be Kaminga, but again, Kaminga's right now, his role is so inconsistent. We don't know where he stands.
Right. So. And the inconsistency is such a shame because tell me what you think about this thought, man. To me, one of the biggest issues with the Warriors is Steve Kerr not simplifying things, and that includes the rotations. That includes, who's closing games, who's starting games. Every night it's someone different starting. Every night it's someone different closing. Every night players are different, getting different amounts of minutes. And as you know as well as anyone, Ryan, professional athletes are creatures of routine. They need consistency in order to be consistent. If you're a player on the Warriors right now, I don't know how you're thriving. Who knows if this is affecting Steph as well? What are your thoughts on that, man? Because I don't think this is helping the fact that no one knows what the role is on a night-by-night basis.
Right, except for Curry. Curry knows he's going to be out there as much as possible, although we always know that his minutes are kind of limited too, right? Because he needs a certain amount of rest, especially at the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 100% right. 100% right.
Remember, I asked. He played a lot of minutes. I asked Kerr in preseason this year about if Curry was going to play 30 to 35 minutes. He said 32 was the sweet spot. Well, tonight he had 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So he had exactly the minutes that he says he wouldn't give him. So that's already telling me that Kerr is leaning heavily on Curry. If he's giving him 35 minutes, because again, I think Curry, ideally for him, he'd want to play 30 to 32 minutes.
And just to add to that, early in the season, especially in that period, the first 15 games when the Warriors were 12-3, Steph was averaging less than 30 minutes a night. I was so encouraged seeing that, and the Warriors were thriving because of it. Steph was rested. Yeah. You were seeing other players starting to, not just have the burden of scoring more and carrying the team, but they were welcoming it. They were thriving. And then little by little, you just see this reversion to what we've seen the last 2 years. Kerr not trusting anyone except his veterans. Trace Jackson-Davis, who's starting at center and succeeding at it. The team was winning. All of a sudden, he's just banished. And there's just no consistency there. Going back to Kaminga, who's like the poster child for a lack of consistency when it comes to the Warriors. Steph was asked about that as well. And let's hear from Steph. In terms of his thoughts on Jonathan Kuminga, who led all scorers tonight with 26 points in just under 30 minutes of play. Here's Steph.
Shot selection and his decision making the past 2 games, at least that's what he told us pregame today. When Kaminga plays like he did tonight, what does he do for you guys?
I mean, he was probably the best player out there in the sense of attacking, being decisive. I think I talked about it after the game the other night. Anytime you're decisive and aggressive, you live with mistakes, but playing in the flow of the offense, taking what the defense gives you. You saw him get into the paint, get a couple extra possessions for us. He knocked down his open threes. It's getting downhill, put pressure on the rim, doing the things that he only he can do really on our team. So we love energetic, confident JK. He can change the game for us like he did. And stringing a couple of those games together will, hopefully rise our level of play and give us a chance to win any given night.
And there you go. That was Stephen Curry talking about Kaminga. Ryan, your reaction to Steph's comments and anything else you want to add about Kaminga's night, which was solid, certainly the best on the team.
Yeah, no, I think Steph, again, he doesn't sound, very confident, I guess is the right word you could say. He seemed to, he sort of almost is kind of mirroring whatever the writer is being asked, what the question was being asked. He's sort of mirroring back the answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was going through the motions. Is what it looked
going
like.
through the motions. Yeah. He's happy that Kaminga had a good game, but the team lost. He had a bad game himself, and you could tell the whole time he's sitting up there. You could tell that's all he's doing is thinking about what he did in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the previous attribution, I liked what he said about Indiana. They are a long, big team. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton is like their smallest guy as their point guard, and he's 6'5". I mean, so the Pacers are a tough opponent. Which, side note, non-Warriors related, but Ryan, why do you think the Pacers are not better than they are? I look at them on paper, and they should be a contender. I think at least. But you look at the standings, and they're 15-15, 8th place in the Eastern Conference. What is going on with that team, man? Like, they beat the Warriors tonight for very good reason. That's a good team, but where are the struggles coming from? Because I think they've now won 5 in a row after tonight's win.
I don't know Rick Carlisle real well, but it seems like he's always kind of like has this kind of stretches as a coach where his teams do well and then they struggle. And so maybe right now they're back on another, because he's kind of, you know what I mean? He's kind of that kind of coach where he just doesn't always have the consistency as far as like winning his team's winning games when they should. He's obviously a good coach, though. I mean, he's very well respected. Of course, all the years he coached in Dallas, and before that he coached the Detroit Pistons. So he's got a good resume, and he's of course the doppelganger for Jim Carrey, as I must point out.
Here's a question for you, Ryan. I know you got to go. I've had you for a really long time here. We're wrapping it up, I promise. If Rick Carlisle was the coach of the Golden State Warriors instead of Steve Kerr, how different would things be right now?
Oh my goodness. It's hard to say. I do think though that if he was the coach, I think Kaminga would be starting more games. That's the main thing I'll take away from this. Kaminga would start a lot more games, and I would see, maybe you would see like Wiggins get back to playing at the guard position as well. Those two things might happen. And who knows, just those two things alone could be a huge difference to how this team the results are.
I know, and I'm going back to the schedule here. You look at the first 3 games. The Warriors won their first 2. Going back to the start of the season, they were at Portland. They won that game easily. They were at Utah. They blew those guys out. And then the third game was against the Clippers, right? A team that for whatever reason has had their number twice now on the season. But looking at those games, Andrew Wiggins was the starting 2 guard for those first 3 games. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And then we never saw it again. The starting lineup in that Warriors-Clippers game was Steph, Wiggins at the 2, Kaminga at the 3, Draymond at the 4, Trayce Jackson-Davis at the 5. They were doing exactly what I thought should be done. And then they just deviated from that. From one loss to the Clippers, just freaked Kerr out. I don't know why. I really wish they did not leave that. I thought they were on a perfect path, and just that Clippers game just freaked her out, man, and that was it. What are your thoughts on the assistants, dude? Like Terry Stotts, Jerry Stackhouse. I thought that it looked, again, it's one thing to trust your eyes. It's another thing to not know what's going on behind the scenes. The impression was that Stotts and Stackhouse had an influence on this team to start the year. Like you noticed little things the Warriors were doing that were different from years past. That starting lineup's a perfect example, right? Like Wiggins at the 2 is not something you see Steve Kerr doing. And Terry Stotts comes in, and suddenly Wiggins is at the 2. Like, common sense, I think, would dictate. What are you seeing from these assistants, dude? Because Jerry Stackhouse was in their ears early. You saw the intensity of the defense. And this now looks more like a Steve Kerr team again, and less like a team that has Stotts and Stackhouse as the assistants. What are your thoughts on the assistants, brother? Because I liked what they were doing, but I don't feel their influence as much as I used to.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. I mean, I don't see what these guys are doing too much, to be honest, because you always kind of pay attention to the head coach, and another thing too is you don't hear from the assistants much, and the only time you will is if maybe somebody from the media asks to do a special interview with them, because they're assistant coaches, they're not head coaches, so they don't have an obligation to the media like the head coach does. But, Stotts having long-time head coaching experience with the Trailblazers. Well, the Stackhouse has never coached at the NBA level, has he?
Not as a head coach. I think he was coaching Vanderbilt in
right.
the NCAA, which is not an easy school to be a head coach of, given you're in the SEC. And Vanderbilt is not primed to invest in their athletics departments like the other schools, like the Georgias and the Auburns and the Alabamas. So Vanderbilt's a tough school to lead. And so Jerry Stackhouse, I don't think, had the most successful tenure as the head coach there, but I also don't think it was his fault per se. I'll leave the show with this, Ryan, and then if you have anything you want to add, please do. Is Steve Kerr untouchable? Like, does Joe Lacob have like
nobody's untouchable? I mean, let me think of this real quick. Who is it? Here's a good example. I mean, that's a different sport, but Mike Ditka, right? The great Mike Ditka, who coached the Chicago Bears. He had one bad year with the Bears. They fired him. The Bears have had some good years, but overall they've been a struggling franchise. Ditka was never the same coach. He goes to the Saints and had 3 bad years with the Saints.
That's right. The Ricky Williams Saints. Yeah. Right.
So nobody's untouchable. Okay. I mean, the greatest manager ever, whoever it is, whether it's Joe Torre, I'm trying to think of some other names here. Like, Casey Stengel, right? He was great with the Yankees. Then he goes and coaches, manages the Mets and manages them into the worst record ever until the White Sox came along this last year. Nobody's untouchable.
Good call.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seems like Draymond and Kerr are okay now. I mean, or at least we don't, or they just tolerate each other well enough to where we don't hear anything. That's my understanding behind the scenes. Like the image that they're friends. I would never call those two
friends. I think Kerr I give Kerr credit for the way he's handled Draymond, because you had to. I'm guessing Kerr learned something from the Phil Jackson years, right? In terms of how Phil handled Dennis Rodman. There's a lot of ego massaging. There's I give Kerr credit for the way he's handled Draymond, but at this point, and especially at this point, we'll see, dude. It ain't boring. Warriors basketball is never boring, and that's a positive, I suppose. But if you're on blood pressure medicine out there, I'm not going to look that I'm not. But I'm guessing for the folks out there, you are. See, there you go.
I'm on 3 blood pressure meds, man. Okay, yeah.
And me knocking riled my dog up. Ryan, anything you want to promote before we go? You've been unbelievable, dude. I don't know why it took me so long to reach back out to you. Don't be afraid to reach out to me too, man. Like, don't be shy. Let me know if I'm lagging on contacting you, because you're welcome on the show anytime, dude.
I'm basically here just about every game. I'm not going to be here on Monday because, like I said, NFL's king. So I'm going to be at the Niners game against the Lions. But yeah, man, have me on anytime. I mean,
we'll do this more often.
This is fun.
We'll do this more often.
Please follow my podcast on YouTube at Bay Area Sports Rap. Just Google Bay Area Sports Rap.
Beautiful. Ryan Leong, again, follow him on Twitter at Ryan Leong. Super easy, and we'll see you on the program again soon. You were unbelievable, Ryan. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, happy holidays. Merry Christmas, man.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all that good stuff. Happy Festivus.
Yep.
You didn't air – wait. Before we go, you did not air a grievance. You have to air one grievance before you go. We don't have the pole, the aluminum pole, but you can air the grievances. That is a Festivus tradition. So
all right, real quick, what was yours?
Traffic.
Okay, traffic's bad. Oh, man, what would I say?
Bay Area traffic, yeah.
Inflation.
Oh.
Inflation,
that's
man.
rough.
Inflation's killing me, okay? Even if I make a decent salary, which I do at my day job, my money doesn't stretch as far as it used to because of inflation.
Yeah.
And lower the price of eggs, by the way. The bird flu is making the egg prices go way the hell up. How's that?
You know what the biggest crook is in California, at least, is PG&E. Those
Yeah.
shysters, man, like that is the biggest scam I've ever seen in my life.
I
To
agree.
just have complete control over energy and just to charge whatever you want. It's a publicly traded company, so profit is their goal, despite the fact that it's a resource we all need. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And when you say inflation, I think of that because their prices just always just
There you go. Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
It's absurd. All right, brother. Love you, man. Thank you so much.
Anytime, man.
And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, brother. Take care, man. That is Ryan Leong of NBC Sports Radio. An absolute pleasure to have him on the show. We'll definitely get him back on soon. And real quick here, as we wrap the show up, I got to give some love to the player of the game, which is brought to you by Vitamin Energy, one of the official sponsors of Golden Days. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Use the promo code Golden Days. Days is spelled like dazed and confused, for 20% off your order. And I was talking to our new sponsor, Vitamin Energy. They said that if we keep this up, I might be able to start offering 30% off soon. So hopefully sales will be driven. Use that promo code, again, Golden Days. You'll get 20% off your purchase at checkout. And the Vitamin Energy player of the game tonight, pretty obvious, Jonathan Kuminga. One more time, 9 of 16 shooting from the field, 2 of 3 from deep. His three-point shot is definitely improving, and I guess by his standards, even the free throws were okay. He was 6 of 9. That's unfortunate, man, that the free throw shooting has become an issue for him. I thought that was solved last year when he shot 75%, but this year it's down to like 59 or 60. Regardless, tonight he was the leading scorer for the Golden State Warriors, 26 points, added 8 rebounds, 4 assists, was a -2 in net rating, but relatively speaking, when you consider that Dennis Schroeder was a -22, Trace Jackson Davis was a -17, Andrew Wiggins a -15. I think the Warriors could live with the -2, given he put 26 points on the board. So Jonathan Kuminga is your Vitamin Energy player of the game. One more time, go to vitaminenergy.com. Use the promo code Golden Days for 20% off your order. All right. Besides the fact that the chat that was basically just everyone watching two people reconnect from high school. Damien LaRoche, I did see a lot of that. No, good stuff, man. All kidding aside. Simon, too, asking if I could bring on a certain individual who shares an opinion that like mine with Steve Kerr. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see, man. There's a lot of people that I could bring on the show as a guest. I want to see if there's anything else in the chat as we start to wrap it up. We've got a scoreboard. Damien, the love is right back with you. Shardal. Okay, fine. Here's the link. Shardal wants to make an appearance. I'll grace you. Let's make it a quick one, though, okay? Because we've gone late. I want to wrap it up on this Festivus evening. The link is in the chat. So Shardal, if you want to join us, please do so. Let's go around the scoreboard as we start wrapping up the show tonight. A night where the Golden State Warriors, unfortunately, failed to win for the first time ever, literally ever, at home against the Indiana Pacers. They just can't do it. But there's a lot of games in the association. Why don't we go through the scoreboard real fast to see what else happened? The LA Lakers. Look, the Warriors lost at home to the Pacers. The Pacers are a damn good team. The Detroit Pistons, not so much. So things could be worse. Like the LA Lakers, for example, who lost at home to the Detroit Pistons tonight, 117-114. Cade Cunningham, 20 points, 10 assists in the win for the Pistons, who improved to 13-17. The Lakers dropped to 16-13. LeBron James with a triple-double tonight, 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Elsewhere in the scoreboard, the Denver Nuggets, 117-90 winners over the reeling Phoenix Suns. Nikola Jokic, 32 points, 7 assists in the win. Kevin Durant, 23 points, 9 rebounds in the loss. The Denver Nuggets improved to 16-11 on the season. The Suns are now a 500 team at 14-14. I should not laugh because the Warriors are just 2 games above 500 currently. And that is Steve Kerr basketball for you. 500 basketball the last 5 years. The Dallas Mavericks, 132-108 winners tonight at home over the Portland Trailblazers. The Mavericks improved to 19-10. Portland drops to 9-20. Luka Doncic, 27 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists in the win. DeAndre Ayton, 16 points, 9 rebounds for Portland in the loss. The OKC Thunder, they won tonight 123-105, hosting the Washington Wizards. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a big night, 41 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Jordan Poole, 31 points, 7 assists in the loss. The Thunder improved to 23-5. The Wizards drop to 4-23. Checking out what's going on here. The Memphis Grizzlies lost tonight to the LA Clippers, and that was in Memphis. The Clippers improved to 17-13. Memphis drops to 20-10, 114-110 the final there. Zubac, 20 points, 19 rebounds, 4 steals in the win for the Clippers. Desmond Bane, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists in the loss. The Milwaukee Bucks continue their resurgence following their NBA Cup title, which I hear they're going to have a parade for. I'm kidding. 112-91 winners tonight over the Chicago Bulls. Bobby Portis, 19 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists in the win. The Chicago Bulls were led by Nikola Vucevic, 17 points, 12 rebounds in the loss. The New York Knicks, this was a high-scoring one, at the Garden, 139-125. The final, the Knicks come out on top to improve to 19-10 on the year. The Raptors dropped to 7-23. Karl-Anthony Towns, 31 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists in the win. RJ Barrett, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists in the loss. Speaking of Karl-Anthony Towns, friendly reminder, I was advocating for him last summer, but I digress. Shardall, let's take a break from the scoreboard to bring you on. How are you doing tonight, brother? What is on your mind?
Hey, Cy, it's great being on the show.
Great having you.
And I love all your content, and you do a really great job on all these play-by-play streams.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And,
what are your thoughts on the Warriors, man? This was a tough night. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it was a tough loss for the Warriors, but I think they're gonna bounce back.
I psychotically agree. I'm still not throwing in the towel, man. I'm not. I think there is something here, but they need to do another move. They need to do something else, man.
I mean, there's a lot of games left in the season, so you have to try and be as optimistic as you can be.
It's a good piece of advice for pretty much anything, right?
Like life is always, there's hardships in life always, and you have to learn how to deal with those hardships.
Yes, sir. You're absolutely right, Shardall. So what's your thoughts though on the whole Kaminga Kerr drama, if that's the right way to label it? What are your thoughts on that? I'm kind
of upset with the whole Kaminga Kerr drama, because Kaminga is not starting. Kerr is not starting Kaminga on a daily basis, and he should be starting him more often off of the bench.
Or at least give him good minutes, right?
And he isn't starting him, so that's the only problem that I'm having, is that you should be giving Kaminga a more better chance, because he's a great player, and to me, that Kerr's not giving him the chance to prove himself is the point where I don't really know, where it doesn't make any sense to me.
Why don't we, Shardall, stick around with me, because I'm going to play some sound right now from Brandon Pajemski after the game. Pods went to the podium and was asked about his statement that he released on Twitter pertaining to his thinking or lack thereof when he's on the court. So this is courtesy of 95.7 The Game, the flagship station, more specifically the flagship radio station of the Golden State Warriors. And here's Pajemski talking about the statement, why he posted it. Let's hear from Pods.
You went on social media, I think, yesterday, and you kind of posted that clarification post. I was just wondering why, I guess, you felt the need to kind of...
Yeah, I think by my statement, it can be tricky and it can be perceived in a different way than it was made out to be. I respect the hell out of Steph, Draymond, Steve, all them guys. I look up to them. So I just wanted to clarify that, and so it wouldn't get twisted any other way from what I meant. So that's why I felt the need to do that.
You went on social media.
All right, that was a total non-answer. I didn't get anything out of that, except that Pajemski looks at the Warriors' leadership as Kerr, Steph, Dre. And I guess to a certain extent, rightfully so. Chardal, do you have an opinion on that clip there and on Pajemski writing a statement on Twitter that I thought was wholly unnecessary? But what did you think about all that?
I mean, I didn't agree with that the clip because Kerr's a great head coach and he's a great playmaker and he runs the shots and that's what he does. But when he doesn't bring up players that are supposed to be in the game and he doesn't add them to the starting lineup, that's something that I don't understand. It's just I don't understand. Like you have to understand where I'm coming from.
I think that's been my gripe this whole time is just make sense with your decisions. Like they don't make, I don't know. I try to be a logical person in life, and that's to me, side note, one of the many values of a college education is you're literally forced to take a class on critical thinking so you know how it applies, what it is exactly, what logic is, right? It's a very mathematical way of thinking about a language structure and what ideas are in terms of their meaning and just everything. And I don't understand what the logic is behind what Kerr's doing. I mean, I just don't get it. It's just so I'm with you in terms of the frustration.
Can you hear an echo?
I don't hear an echo. Is there an echo?
No. So okay. For me, I don't agree because Steve Kerr's a great head coach, but the decisions that he makes are very illogical. Like they're the most illogical decisions you ever could think that a head coach would ever make. He needs to make the right decisions.
Agreed. I totally agree with
and
you.
I don't understand why he doesn't do that. And what are your thoughts about Kerr? Like, do you agree? Do you agree with me that players that deserve to be in the starting lineup, he doesn't put them in the starting lineup?
I think, and again, I understand why a lot of people have reverence when it comes to Steve Kerr. Look, man, the guy was the head coach for 4 championship teams. I get it. I just am not a sentimental person either, at least not when it comes to sports and the present, right? Like I can separate what happened in the past versus what's happening now. And what's happening now is he's not the guy. I like this team needs to have someone who actually knows how to handle youth, knows how to develop talent. Like Steve Kerr has never developed a single player into an all-star, a single rookie or second-year player into an all-star ever. And he's never proven he can win without Stephen Curry. I'm glad again the Olympics happened because finally the rest of the world saw what I've been griping about for 2 years when it comes to nonsensical decisions like the Jason Tatum thing. Look, I know they won, but they barely won against Serbia. I mean, Jesus, could you imagine the narrative today if they'd lost that Serbia game? My God. And so Kerr just lucked the F out in that regard. But again, people saw like, oh, wow, this is a guy who just makes really funky decisions in terms of who plays when. It just makes no sense. Like Jason Tatum's one of the best players in the world, and he's getting DNPs. Like that just made no damn sense. So again, I understand the reverence. I get it. He was clearly the right person at the right time in 2014. I don't think he's the right guy now. I just don't. And the fact that he has this ridiculous emphasis on ball handling. Like he has his favorites. I don't think that's a good style of leadership, is making it known who you like more than others. And he has made that clear, which is just, I don't know how like that passes for leadership. That is like, yeah. So I just think it's time for change. That is my opinion on it, but that's me.
For me, when I think of Kerr, I don't agree when he puts injured players in the game when they should not be starting.
Like who?
Like if somebody has an injury and they're going through a severe injury and he puts him in the game, that player is at risk of injuring themselves more. Like they can actually worsen the injury.
Simon 2 in the chat is asking like if I had power, and I don't, but if I did, who would I replace Kerr with? I think if you're going to do an in-season trade or in-season a decision transaction, I would just stick with the in-house coaches. I'd go with either Terry Stotts or Jerry Stackhouse. I think either you'd be fine with. I mean, and whoever you pick, just communicate and make it clear that the other person's going to handle that side of the court. Meaning, if Jerry Stackhouse is your pick, give Terry Stotts a lot of control over the offense and make that known, and vice versa. If Terry Stotts is chosen as the head coach, I with that said, that's what I would do. I would just stick. I would stay in house. Worry about big picture after the season. Look, the Cavaliers in 2016, they fired David Blatt, replaced him with Ty Lue. It worked out, man. It's not the end of the world to make a coaching change in the middle of the season. It's happened before successfully. That's me. I don't know. Who would you replace Kerr with, Chardal, if you had that power?
I don't. Right now, I don't know who we could replace Kerr with, because there's so many great replacements for Kerr. If to take Kerr out and bring in somebody else that's kind of has more expertise and can replace Kerr as head coach.
But Terry Stotts would be fine, man. I mean, Terry Stotts is an established coach. Like he was not doing a bad job with Portland for 10 years or however long he was there, and he's shown he could be a leader of an NBA locker room, and I think that alone is very important. I'd probably go with Stotts. And you can revisit that decision in the offseason. I don't think you can go out of the building to hire someone now. Like that would just be too much tumult. But that's just me.
I mean, for now, you shouldn't take her out, because I think that's too far of a thing to make. Just let him prove himself, because I don't think you should take him out at this point. There's so many games left in the season. Like the Warriors are not done. They have so many games left in the schedule. So I think they can bounce back, because the Warriors are a very resilient basketball team.
Agreed.
They're like one of the most resilient basketball teams I've ever known.
That's a good point, Chardal. Chardal, I want to wrap it up. We've been going on for way too long. I don't think 2-hour shows are healthy for the growth of this program. So I want to wrap it up. Any final thoughts, Chardal?
My final thoughts are, thanks for having me on the show, Cy. I think you're a great host. I think you bring a lot of great people on here. I think you have a lot of expertise on the Warriors also. As a professor at a university, that's something great. Thanks, so I would love to come on your show. I mean, I also want to bring.
You're on now.
Sometimes I don't know that much about the Warriors, but I try and come on the show and bring as much knowledge as I can about the Warriors and try and share it with you.
I love it. And Chardal, that's the best advice I could personally give to anyone who's looking to make a name for themselves as a content creator, as a host of a program on YouTube or a podcast. Provide something that's useful for the audience, right? Like no one cares about someone who's just spitting opinions. We all have opinions, right? They're just like a-holes. We all got them, and most of the time they're stinky, and we don't want to hear them or see them. Provide actual content that can inform the audience, that at the bare minimum can entertain the audience. But one of my oldest bosses when I was at KNBR, and I bring up KNBR because that was my first job out of college. I was an intern there, and they hired me on full time after I graduated, and I was there for almost 10 years. And those were a lot of my formative years, and that led to everything I'm doing now. Because while I was there, I launched a writing career back when the internet was still new and KNBR.com first launched. I was one of the first writers for the website. So I was doing all these things and figuring out who I am as a person and whatnot. But one thing I learned that was very important from a former boss of mine, Bob Agnew, and I love this guy. He didn't always make decisions I approved of, but he was honest, man. He was forthright. You knew where you stood with him. He didn't play these stupid mental games that a lot of people in positions of power, like Steve Kerr, does. You knew where you stood, right? And I respected the shit out of that. And his philosophy for media content to be successful, it is very simple. It's just two variables. Be informative, right? Provide your audience with content that they don't know about previously. Give them content that they can't just Google search, right? And that's where insights help. That's where analysis helps. That's where guests help, right? That's where being an insider is huge, because most people don't have that level of connection. And then you also have to be entertaining, right? You can't be boring. You can't just be someone who knows all the facts. I remember early in my career, there were a lot of people trying to make it who thought they could make it because they knew everything. They knew who the starting third baseman was for the 1973 Pittsburgh Pirates. And that's great. But if you're not entertaining the audience while you're delivering this information, you're not going to hold them. They're not going to care. So be informative, be entertaining. And that's your formula for success.
Guys,
and that's the advice I'll give you, Chardal.
Guys, make sure to subscribe to Golden Days.
Thanks, man.
Dazed and Confused, like the movie.
Yes, sir.
The stoner movie. One of my favorite
What a
movies
great
of all
movie.
time.
One of my
I love
all-time
that
favorite
movie.
movies. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
this
Shardall,
guy
thank you,
makes
brother. I
some
got to
great
go, man.
content.
We're getting late.
This guy
I'm
makes
going
some
late.
great content for you, and make sure to click that like and subscribe button for Cy,
Thank you, brother.
so you don't want to miss out on another time he posts another live video.
Thank you, man. Shardall, have a great night. Happy Festivus. Before you go, you got to air one grievance.
My grievance is I hate taxes. I hate that when you buy everything in the store, everything has taxes. You know, you buy a soda from a gas station that has a tax on it.
Not every state has sales tax. You could. I think Oregon has no sales tax, so you could always move to another state.
I hate taxes. I want to eliminate taxes. That's my grievance.
All right, Shardall, have a great night, man. Thank you so much, brother.
See you later, Cy. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, brother. I'm sure I'll see you again soon, and you're welcome, just like everyone else. Going with the rest of the scoreboard to wrap up the show here on a Monday night. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. That is insane. I hope everyone's having a great holidays. A few more games here to recap. The Miami Heat improved to 14-13 on the season. 110-95 winners tonight at home over the Brooklyn Nets, who dropped to 11-18. Do I have that right? Yeah, 11-18. Wow. Clowney, I don't know who that is, led the Nets with 19 points. Bam Adebayo, who's been quiet this year. One interesting thing I've noticed, which has defied the standard of years past, is usually when players, NBA players, professional basketball players, when they go through the Olympic experience, they come back better individuals. Like they're more skilled, they're more improved. They have a better approach to the game. And that's usually because of the fact that they're surrounded by all these other legendary athletes and individuals who have achieved the highest levels of success. But we're not seeing that this year. The why of that, I don't know. But Joel Embiid, awful year. Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, tonight he had a fantastic game, but with the exception of that, bit of a disappointment this year. Who else are we retiring? I guess the Boston Celtics wouldn't count on this, but like Steph's having an off year, LeBron's having an off year. It is interesting. I don't know why I thought of that, but just right now, but I did. Anyways, wrapping up the scoreboard. Because of Bam Adebayo, that's why I thought of that. Because Bam Adebayo, another player who was fantastic in the Olympics, and then this season has just been a bit underwhelming by his standards. Right, he's not blowing people away. So just something interesting I've noticed. The Atlanta Hawks defeated the reeling Minnesota Timberwolves 117-104 tonight. Jalen Johnson, 17 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists for the Atlanta Hawks in the win. Julius Randle, 19 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists in the loss for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That Karl Anthony Towns trade looking worse and worse for them by the day. The San Antonio Spurs lost in Philly to the 76ers 111-106. Philly improves to 10-17. Tyrese Maxey, 32 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists in the win. The Spurs dropping to 15-14 with the loss. Victor Wembanyama, 26 points, 9 rebounds, 8 blocks in the loss. I forgot to mention the Atlanta Hawks by beating Minnesota tonight. They improved to 15-15. Minnesota drops to 14-14 in that loss. 3 more games on a jam-packed Monday night of NBA basketball. The Orlando Magic surviving injury after injury. Mo Wagner is out for the year. That's Franz's brother with a torn ACL in his knee. Super brutal injury. Among many that Orlando suffered. Paolo Banchero, another one. He's been out for months. But yet Orlando keeps finding ways to win. They won tonight at home against the Celtics, 108-104. Jalen Suggs, 16 points, 6 rebounds in the win. Jaylen Brown, 35 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals in the loss. Orlando improves to 19-12. The Celtics drop to 23-7. 2 more games here. The Cleveland Cavaliers, 124-113 winners over the Utah Jazz. Cleveland improves to 26-4. Utah drops to 7-21. Evan Mobley, have yourself a season. He's really emerging now. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks in the win. Jordan Clarkson, 27 points, 6 rebounds in the loss. Evan Mobley and Kaminga and Moses Moody were all in the same draft class. And last but not least, the Houston Rockets defeating the Charlotte Hornets tonight, 114-101. Oh, real fast, I'm sorry. Cleveland improves to 26-4. Utah drops to 7-21, just in case I did not say that before, although I'm thinking back and I think I did, but who cares? Houston improves to 20-9 on the season, again, beating Charlotte 114-101. The Hornets dropped to 7-22. Amen. Is it Amen or is it Osser who's on Houston? I think it's Amen. Amen Thompson, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks in the win. LaMelo Ball, 23 points and 8 assists. And last but not least, the standings. The Warriors, with this loss tonight, dropped to 8th in the Western Conference with a 15-13 record. OKC is first. The Houston Rockets are second, 3.5 games back. The Grizzlies are third, 4 games back, followed by the Mavericks, who are in fourth place, 4.5 games back. The Denver Nuggets are fifth, 6.5 games back. Then the Clippers are in sixth place. Those are your top 6 who would make the playoffs if the season ended today. The Clippers improved to 17, or I'm sorry, the Clippers are 17-13. And then the Lakers are 7th at 16-13. The Warriors, a half game behind them at 8th with a 15-13 record. And that about does it. So we'll be back at this again tomorrow at noon Pacific time with Hall of Famer Rick Barry. We're going to play a lot of sound from earlier tonight, especially that pregame press conference where Steve Kerr was talking about Kaminga, and among many things. We'll talk free throws. We'll try to cover everything that's interesting. Otherwise, I guess that about does it. Anything else? Are we good? Are we done? I think we are. Let me see the chat one more time. Thank you, AB. Right back at you. Thank you. Otherwise, I guess we're back at this tomorrow. One more time. Happy Festivus, everybody. It's a Festivus for the rest of us. And unfortunately, the Warriors lost. Season's still young, folks. Don't lose hope. And whether you want to say I'm delusional, whatever you want to say, I have not given up on this Golden State Warriors team. Maybe I should, but I still have hope. That sample size at the beginning of the year, 12-3 over 15 games. I still don't think that was fraudulent. There was something there, and then Steve Kerr happened. But I do think the personnel is here. They do need to make another move. Don't give up hope on this team. And don't write off Stephen Curry. Believe me, people have made that mistake. I will never make that mistake. I'd rather see him fall off the cliff before admitting that dude is washed. I'm definitely not there yet. But thank you, everyone. And we'll be back at this soon. Tomorrow, Rick Barry. Until then, bye-bye.